Tom stood nervously at the edge of the Grand Hall on Zalara, his hands sweating inside the gloves of his diplomatic uniform. He had been sent here as a trainee diplomat from Earth, and this was his first real mission. The planet itself was breathtaking. Towers of shimmering crystal rose into the pink sky, and streets of flowing light connected different parts of the city like glowing rivers. Yet Tom barely noticed the beauty. He was focused entirely on the ceremony ahead. The hall was packed with alien delegates, each taller and stranger than the next. Some had multiple limbs. Others floated slightly above the ground, and a few shimmered as if they were made of liquid light. Tom's translator device buzzed softly in his ear, translating the alien chatter into English. "Remember, Tom," Ambassador Hale whispered behind him, "observe, respect, do not make mistakes. One wrong move and we could start an interstellar incident." Tom swallowed hard and nodded. He had read every book on Zalaran culture, every guide to their gestures and customs. He even practiced their greeting rituals in the simulator at the embassy. But now, standing in the real hall, he realized nothing could prepare him for the sheer presence of the Zalaran court, especially the Queen. Queen Varela sat on a floating throne of silver light at the far end of the hall. Her appearance was breathtaking. She had voluminous eyes, delicate wings that shimmered like stained glass, and her aura radiated authority. Tom felt his knees weaken. A hush fell over the hall as Queen Varela rose slightly. Every alien present turned their attention to Tom. Ambassador Hale gave him a barely perceptible nod, signaling that it was time to perform the ceremonial greeting. Tom's heart pounded. He remembered the manual's instructions. A gesture of eternal respect involves bending the right knee, placing the hands over the heart, and speaking the Zalaran vow of unity. He glanced at the Queen and tried to imitate the diagram in his head. He bent one knee awkwardly, placed his hands over his heart, and recited the vow he had memorized. Only he mispronounced one word. To his horror, he suddenly realized that he had performed the gesture of eternal bond, a sacred proposal meant only for choosing a life partner. The hall went silent. Even Ambassador Hale froze, his jaw tightening. Tom's stomach dropped. He had not meant to propose to anyone, least of all to the Queen herself. Queen Varela's eyes widened briefly, and then a slow smile spread across her face. She raised one wing, a sign of acceptance. "Tom of Earth," she said, her voice soft but clear in the translator device, "you have chosen me. I accept your bond." Tom's mind went blank, his mouth open, but no words came out. A wave of panic washed over him. "I didn't mean to," he tried, but the Queen's smile stopped him. The aliens in the hall began to murmur excitedly. Some clapped their limbs together, others floated higher in joy. The translators converted their sounds into words Tom could understand. "The bond is accepted. A union of stars." Tom felt his face flush bright red. He glanced at Ambassador Hale, who was now trying very hard not to show shock. "Tom," Hale whispered, "do not argue. Not yet. Just follow protocol." Protocol. Tom barely understood what was happening. The Queen waved him forward. With trembling steps, he moved toward the throne. Every step felt heavier than the last, like gravity itself was trying to push him backward. "Come closer, Tom," the Queen said, her voice warm. "Let the ceremony begin." Tom's mind raced. Ceremony? He had not signed up for this. He had only come to observe and report. And yet, here he was, about to become a participant in something he barely understood. He bowed awkwardly, hoping it would seem respectful rather than foolish. Queen Varela extended one of her glowing hands. Tom hesitated, then took it. The moment their hands touched, a soft light surrounded them, bathing them both in a gentle glow. He could feel energy flowing, not dangerous, but intensely binding. A strange warmth spread through his chest. This was not just a gesture of greeting. It was the real bond. "Do you understand what you have done, human?" the Queen asked, her eyes shimmering. "This is a promise that cannot be broken lightly." Tom swallowed hard. He did understand now. Every guidebook he had read, every manual on Zalaran culture, it all had led to this moment, and he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Yes, Your Majesty, he said quickly, forcing his voice to sound confident, though his heart was racing. I understand. The Queen's smile widened. Then let the preparation begin. Your world will be known throughout the Zalaran Empire. We shall celebrate this bond with honor. Tom froze. Preparation, celebrate. He had barely even blinked before he had somehow agreed to a life-changing event. Ambassador Hale patted his shoulder. Well, Tom, it seems we have a lot to do. Stay calm, follow the customs, and try not to panic. This will be a very interesting experience. Tom nodded, though he was not sure how he could stay calm. He followed the Queen as she floated from her throne, leading him through corridors that glowed with shifting light along the walls. Zalaran attendants bowed deeply. Every eye was on him. Every step made him feel smaller, more human, and yet, strangely, more alive. He realized that despite the fear and embarrassment, he was also fascinated. This was a world unlike anything he had ever known, strange, beautiful, and dangerous. And now, he was at the very center of it. As they entered a chamber filled with floating orbs of light and silken banners, the Queen turned to him and said, "Tomorrow, we begin the first ritual. You will learn what it means to be bound not only in ceremony but in spirit. Are you ready, Tom of Earth?" Tom took a deep breath and nodded, though inside, he felt a mix of panic and excitement. I will do my best, Your Majesty." The Queen's smile was gentle. "That is all I ask. For now, rest. Tomorrow, your journey truly begins." Tom watched as she floated away, her wings leaving trails of shimmering light in the air. He sank onto a soft crystal bench, his mind spinning. He had accidentally proposed to the Queen of Zalara. He had no idea what the next day would bring, but one thing was clear. Life on Zalara would never be ordinary again. The next morning, Tom woke to the soft glow of the palace. The light seemed to flow through the walls, filling the room with colors that shifted like a living rainbow. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, trying to recall where he was. One night had passed, yet it felt like a lifetime since the accident in the Grand Hall. He had accidentally proposed to the Queen, and now he was living in her palace, surrounded by beings who looked at him with curiosity and admiration. A gentle tap at the door announced a visitor. "Come in," Tom called nervously. The door slid open, revealing Ambassador Hale. His expression was calm, but Tom could sense the tension behind it. "Morning, Tom," Hale said, stepping inside. "I need to explain what happened last night and what comes next." Tom gestured for him to continue. "I already know what happened. I proposed by mistake," he said, his voice shaky. Hale raised an eyebrow. "Not exactly a mistake anymore. Queen Varela accepted it publicly, and now the entire Zalaran Empire knows. They are celebrating the bond you have made. The news has been transmitted to every city, every planet in her empire." Tom felt his stomach drop. "Celebrating? They think this is real?" Hale nodded. "Yes. And if you back out now, it would not just embarrass you or the embassy. It could start a diplomatic crisis. The humans and Zalarans are on the verge of a historic alliance, and this union is seen as a symbol of trust and cooperation." Tom ran a hand through his hair. "So I'm stuck." "You are," Hale said simply. "At least until we find a solution. For now, you follow protocol and try to learn their ways. Think of it as preparation for the inevitable." Tom groaned. He had studied Zalaran culture, but living it was something else entirely. Every move he made now was watched. Every word, every gesture had meaning. He was not just a visitor anymore. He was part of their story. A soft chime sounded from the door. A Zalaran attendant entered, floating gracefully in midair. "Your presence is requested in the central hall, Tom of Earth," she said, her voice melodic. "Queen Varela wishes to formally announce the bond." Tom's heart sank. He followed the attendant, his legs moving slowly as he tried to prepare himself for the public event. The central hall was larger than the first one he had seen, filled with thousands of delegates, nobles, and citizens who had gathered for the announcement. At the center, Queen Varela floated above a pedestal of shimmering light. Her eyes met his, calm and expectant. "Tom of Earth," she said, her voice carrying through the hall, Please join me. Tom walked to her. Feeling the weight of hundreds of gazes upon him, every step echoed in the chamber. The moment he reached her, the queen extended her wings slightly, a gesture of welcome. The crowd erupted in cheers. Translators turned the alien sounds into words. The bond is recognized. The human has accepted. The queen's choice is honored. Tom could feel the heat rising to his face. He wanted to explain, to say it was a mistake, but Ambassador Hale's hand on his shoulder reminded him not to. Any protest now would be seen as dishonor or disrespect. He had to play along. Queen Varela turned to the crowd. Citizens of Zalara, she said, today marks the beginning of a new era. A union has been formed with the human representative, Tom, who has shown courage and respect in embracing our customs. This bond is a promise of friendship, understanding, and unity between our worlds. The crowd cheered again, louder this time. Tom swallowed hard. He felt like a character in a story he hadn't chosen to be part of, yet, at the same time, there was an undeniable sense of pride. Humanity, small and distant in the galaxy, was being recognized in this grand way. After the announcement, Tom was escorted to a private room in the palace to rest. Hale followed, his face serious. Tomorrow, lessons begin. You will learn about Zalaran rituals, customs, and etiquette. It is important that you understand the bond fully, even if it started by accident. Tom slumped onto a cushioned bench. Lessons? I can barely survive one morning without making a mistake. How am I supposed to handle rituals for a wedding? I never wanted. Hale gave him a small, almost sympathetic smile. Sometimes, Tom, it is not about wanting. It is about choice. You can still make decisions later. But for now, you need to be prepared. The queen is very perceptive. She will notice any hesitation, any disrespect, and that could cause trouble. Tom nodded reluctantly. I understand, but I don't even know her. What if she expects something more than I can give? Hale put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. The queen values honesty, courage, and respect. If you show those, it will be enough. You don't have to be perfect. Remember, humans have qualities that the Zalarans admire: determination, creativity, and adaptability. You have those, whether you realize it or not. That evening, Tom walked through the palace gardens, trying to clear his mind. The gardens were unlike anything on Earth. Giant flowers glowed softly. Floating insects shimmered with their own light, and streams of water twisted in midair, following invisible paths. He could hear distant laughter from Zalaran children playing near a crystal fountain. Tom paused to watch them. He realized something. Despite the fear, despite the overwhelming strangeness, he felt welcome. The Zalarans were not hostile. They were curious, observant, and intelligent, and the queen, despite the accidental proposal, had treated him with warmth, not mockery. He smiled faintly. Maybe, just maybe, he could survive this. He would learn their ways, follow the customs, and find a way to navigate this new reality. As night fell over the crystal city, the palace lights reflected off the floating towers, casting colors across the sky. Tom lay on the soft cushions in his room, staring at the glowing ceiling. Tomorrow, the real lessons would begin. Tomorrow, he would start learning what it meant to be bonded to the Queen of Zalara. And for the first time, he felt a spark of excitement. This was more than a diplomatic mission. It was an adventure, one that could change his life and the future of humanity forever. The next morning, Tom awoke to soft sunlight spilling into his room through walls that shimmered like liquid crystal. The palace was alive with gentle hums and glowing lights. As if the building itself were breathing, Tom stretched and tried to calm the mix of excitement and anxiety buzzing in his chest. Today marked the beginning of his first lessons in Zalaran courtship and rituals, and he had no idea what to expect. A soft knock announced the arrival of his tutors. Two Zalarans entered. One, named Leora, had wings that reflected the colors of dawn, and her eyes sparkled with intelligence and patience. The other, named Kale, was taller, with sleek silver limbs and a calm presence that seemed to command respect without effort. Good morning, Tom, Leora said. Her voice was melodic, but firm. Today, you begin learning the customs that accompany a bond. The first step is understanding respect, gestures, and personal honor. Tom nodded nervously. I'm ready, he said, though his stomach churned with worry. I just hope I don't make another mistake. Cale gave him a small smile. Mistakes are expected. How you respond to them is what matters. Humans have unique qualities that we admire. Courage and adaptability will serve you well. Their first lesson began in a vast chamber where the floor glowed softly underfoot, mapping constellations from Earth and Zalara alike. Leora instructed Tom to stand in the center while she demonstrated the proper gestures of greeting and respect. Tom tried to mimic her movements, bending knees, placing hands over the heart, and bowing at precise angles. It was harder than it looked. Each movement had meaning. A slight tilt of the head could convey arrogance. A misplaced hand could suggest disrespect. Tom stumbled several times, catching himself before a full error. But each slip made him feel clumsier than before. Do not worry, Cale said calmly. You are learning. Observe, focus, and correct yourself. The Queen values effort and sincerity more than perfection. After a few hours, Tom began to feel more confident. His movements became smoother, though still far from perfect. Leora nodded approvingly. Better. Your progress is visible. The next step is understanding emotional expression. Zalarans communicate not only with words but with light, movement, and aura. Tom's eyes widened. Aura? You mean like energy? Yes, Cale said. Your intent, honesty, and emotion manifest as light. The Queen will notice if your feelings are genuine. We must ensure your aura communicates respect and sincerity, not fear or hesitation. The lesson moved outdoors to a floating garden. Above the palace, giant petals glowed beneath their feet, and streams of water twisted gracefully in midair. Leora instructed Tom to focus on his emotions, to allow his respect for the Queen to flow naturally. As he concentrated, he noticed a faint shimmer around his hands, a soft glow that pulsed when he moved with intention. Good, Leora said. Your aura responds to genuine intent. Remember this, the bond is not only ceremonial but spiritual. It requires presence and honesty after mastering gestures and aura. Cale introduced Tom to other elements of Zalaran tradition. He learned the importance of offering gifts that reflected thoughtfulness and care rather than value. Simple acts, like presenting a glowing flower from the palace gardens or offering a song created from the vibration of one's voice, could mean more than wealth or status. Tom practiced bowing, speaking respectful phrases in the Zalaran language, and even composing small melodies on a floating instrument that responded to his touch. Each success gave him confidence, and each mistake became a lesson rather than a failure. By afternoon, the tutors led him to a practice ritual that involved flight. The Zalarans valued courage, and part of their courtship included a test of bravery. A pair of large winged creatures were brought forward. They were not dangerous, but riding them required balance, focus, and trust in the guide. Tom's heart raced as he mounted the creature. Its wings stretched wide, reflecting the pink sky above the palace towers. At first, he wobbled, nearly falling off, but Cale's guidance and his own determination helped him stabilize. The creature soared into the air, and Tom could see the entire city below, glowing like a river of light. This is more than a test of skill, Cale said from beside him. It is a test of composure and trust. The Queen values those who can face challenges calmly and thoughtfully. Tom nodded, gripping the reins tightly. He felt a strange thrill as they looped and glided through the sky. By the end, he was exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. When he returned to the palace, Queen Varela herself appeared. She had been observing from afar. Her wings folded gracefully behind her. You have learned much today, Tom, she said, her four eyes glinting with approval. Your effort shows sincerity. That is what matters most. Continue with this mindset, and our bond will be strengthened. Tom felt a warmth in his chest. It was one thing to follow instructions, but another to receive praise from the Queen herself. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said sincerely. I will continue to do my best. The Queen inclined her head. That is all I ask. Tomorrow, Your lessons will continue with more advanced rituals. You will also begin to understand the responsibilities that accompany a bond between our worlds." As she floated away, Tom sat on a bench in the garden. Looking at the glowing streams and floating flowers, he felt a mix of exhaustion and excitement. The lessons were difficult, but he was learning. Slowly, he began to understand not just the rituals, but the spirit behind them: respect, courage, and honesty. Tom realized something important. Despite the mistake that started this journey, he was growing. Humanity, small and distant in the galaxy, had a chance to shine through him. He had courage, creativity, and determination, qualities the Zolarans admired. If he continued to show these traits, he could survive this unusual adventure and maybe even earn the Queen's trust. By the time night fell, the palace was quiet. Tom returned to his room, tired but satisfied. He lay on his cushion, thinking about the day's lessons. He knew the coming days would be even more challenging, but for the first time, he felt ready. Tomorrow, he would face new rituals, new tests, and deeper lessons in what it truly meant to be bonded with Queen Varela. And for the first time, Tom felt not just fear or confusion, but excitement for the future. Life on Zolara was strange, challenging, and beautiful, and he was determined to face it all. Tom had been practicing the Zalaran rituals for several days now. He had learned how to move with grace, how to show sincerity through his aura, and even how to perform small acts of courage. He felt a growing sense of confidence. Still, nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. As he walked through the palace courtyard, he noticed a figure standing under a glowing tree. The being had sharp silver armor and wings that reflected the afternoon light. He was taller than any Zalaran Tom had seen, and there was a quiet, commanding presence about him. "Tom of Earth," the figure said, his voice deep and clear. "I am Prince Zorth." Tom stopped. He had heard about Zorth, a noble known throughout the Empire for his skill, intelligence, and ambition. He had also heard whispers that the prince had hoped to marry Queen Varela himself. Now, Zorth's eyes were fixed on him with a mixture of curiosity and challenge. I know who you are," Tom said, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's nice to meet you." Zorth's eyes narrowed slightly. "Meeting is not enough. You have claimed a bond with the Queen. That bond, according to our tradition, can be challenged. I am the one she was considering. You are an outsider. Do you understand what this means?" Tom's stomach tightened. I think so. You want to challenge me." "Exactly," Zorth said, folding his arms. "In our culture, those who wish to claim a bride may issue a challenge to test worthiness. You, a human, have been thrust into this bond. Now you must prove yourself." Tom swallowed hard. He had faced the trials of flight and ritual before, but he was not sure if he could face a noble of such skill and power. Still, he remembered Ambassador Hale's words: courage and adaptability were human strengths. "I accept," Tom said finally, surprising even himself. "I will face your challenge." Zorth's eyes glinted. "Very well. You will undergo 3 tests. The first is courage. The second is wisdom. The third is skill. Pass all 3, and your bond will be recognized. Fail, and the Queen will choose according to tradition." The first test was courage. Zorth led Tom to a high platform suspended above a glowing chasm. A narrow bridge stretched across, shifting slightly as it hovered in midair. The goal was simple: cross the bridge while a simulated storm of winds and lights tried to knock challengers off balance. Tom took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. The wind howled around him. Lights flashed in his eyes, and the bridge wobbled dangerously. His legs shook, and fear pressed against his chest. But he remembered the Queen's words, the lessons from Leora and Kale, and his own determination. One careful step at a time, he focused on balance, breathing, and composure. Slowly, steadily, he crossed to the other side. Zorth nodded approvingly. "Impressive. You have shown courage." Next came the test of wisdom. Zorth led Tom to a chamber filled with shifting symbols and puzzles. Each puzzle required understanding Zalaran logic, culture, and history. Tom had studied some of these things, But the live test was far more difficult. He approached the first puzzle, a series of floating crystals that had to be arranged in a pattern, representing the stars of both Earth and Zolara. Tom studied the stars carefully, recalling what he had learned in the palace's simulation room. He moved the crystals slowly, deliberately, and finally the pattern glowed in recognition. The second puzzle tested empathy. Tom had to interpret a series of glowing lights representing different emotions. From a group of Zalaran children, if he responded incorrectly, the test would reset. Tom focused on understanding each child's intent, letting his human sense of observation and compassion guide him. He succeeded, and the chamber brightened with approval. Finally, the skill test. Zorth led him to a training arena. The challenge was a duel, not of violence, but of strategy and timing. Tom had to defend against Zorth's swift movements and strike key targets to demonstrate precision and agility. His human reflexes, combined with the lessons from Kale, helped him anticipate Zorth's moves. Sweat poured down his face, but with careful thought and steady focus, he succeeded in striking the correct targets, earning Zorth's reluctant respect. By the end of the day, Tom was exhausted, his clothes soaked with sweat and his muscles aching. Yet, as he stood before Zorth, he felt a strange pride. He had faced the challenges and emerged victorious. "You have passed the test," Zorth said finally. Lowering his gaze in acknowledgement, "I see now that courage, wisdom, and skill are not limited to our people. Humans possess these qualities. As well, your bond with the Queen is legitimate." Tom exhaled, relief washing over him. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I will do my best to honor it." Zorth nodded. "Do not disappoint her. She is wise and just, but she also expects respect for tradition. Remember that." Later, Tom returned to the Queen, who was waiting in the garden of floating lights. She watched him approach with a serene expression, her wings reflecting the colors of the sunset. "You have faced Zorth's challenge," she said, her voice warm. "Tell me, human, how did it feel?" Tom smiled faintly. "Difficult, frightening, but I learned a lot. I understand now that the bond is not just ceremony. It is about trust, courage, and respect." The Queen's eyes glimmered. "Exactly. You have proven that humans can rise to the occasion. Your people may be small in the galaxy, but their hearts are strong. That is why you survived the challenge, and why your bond with me can grow stronger." Tom felt a new sense of confidence. He realized that the Queen's praise was not just politeness. She valued qualities that humans naturally possessed: determination, creativity, and courage. Even in a strange world, humans could shine. As night fell, Tom walked alone through the palace gardens, reflecting on the day. The city of Zolara glowed softly beneath him, and the stars above seemed closer than ever. Despite the accident that had started all of this, he had proven himself. He had faced fear, solved puzzles, and demonstrated skill. For the first time, he did not feel like a visitor or an outsider. He felt like a participant in a story larger than himself, one that could shape the future of humans and Zolarans alike. And as he looked at the glowing towers and shimmering skies, Tom knew that whatever came next, he was ready to face it. The palace was alive with excitement. Bright banners floated in midair, and glowing lights shaped themselves into beautiful patterns along the crystal walls. Everywhere Tom looked, Zolarans were busy preparing for the wedding. Artisans wove shimmering fabrics into flowing robes, cooks arranged glowing fruits into intricate displays, and musicians tuned their instruments to play songs that sounded like the music of the stars. Tom tried to take it all in while following Leora and Kale through the palace halls. "This is amazing," he said, awed by the scale and beauty of the preparations. Liora smiled. "The bond of a queen is never a small event. Every detail is important. Every movement, every gesture, every color must honor the union." Kale added, "And you, Tom, are at the center. You must understand the responsibility. This is not just a personal matter. It represents both humans and Zolarans." Tom nodded, feeling the weight of the words. He had learned a lot through the rituals and the challenges. But now the stakes were higher. This was real. The ceremony would be witnessed by leaders and citizens across the galaxy. As they walked through a quiet corridor, a soft whisper reached Tom's ears. He stopped, glancing around. The corridor was empty except for a pair of servants carrying trays of glowing fruit. He shrugged, thinking he had imagined it, but then he heard it again. A hushed conversation, voices low and urgent. Curiosity overcame his caution. Tom followed the sound to a side chamber. He pressed himself against the wall and peeked inside. Two shadowy figures were talking in hurried tones. Their voices were tense. "We cannot allow this union," one of them said. "If the humans gain favor with the Queen, it will change everything. The Emperor will never forgive us." The other nodded. "The plan is ready. The ceremony will be sabotaged. If the human fails publicly, it will be clear that this bond should never have happened." Tom's heart pounded. A plot to ruin the wedding? And they were blaming him for it? He backed away quietly, his mind racing. He needed to warn the Queen and his tutors. But he also knew that if he acted too soon, the conspirators might detect him. He returned to Leora and Kale, keeping his face calm. "Something is wrong," he said quietly. "I overheard the Zolarans plotting. They plan to sabotage the ceremony." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Are you certain?" "Yes," Tom said firmly. "They said the Union must fail. They want to blame me." Leora placed a hand on Tom's shoulder. "We will handle this carefully. The Queen must not be alarmed until we are ready. If we act too soon, it could endanger the entire palace." For the rest of the day, Tom assisted with the preparations while also staying alert. Every decoration he touched, every practice session he attended, he scanned for anything unusual. The palace that had seemed magical and safe now felt tense, like a storm was hiding behind the glowing walls. The next morning, he joined Kale and Leora for a meeting. "We will conduct security discreetly," Kale said. "We will observe the suspects and gather evidence before the ceremony. You, Tom, must remain calm and continue with your lessons. Appear confident and unaware." Tom nodded, though his stomach twisted with worry. He had survived challenges before, but now it was not just about skill or courage. It was about intelligence, observation, and quick thinking. As the days passed, Tom became more vigilant. He noticed minor anomalies, a misplaced decoration here, an unusually tense servant there, whispers that stopped when he approached. With Kale and Leora's guidance, he began piecing together a pattern. The conspirators were planning something during the ceremony itself, likely to create chaos at a critical moment. Despite the tension, life continued around him. The Queen visited Tom in the garden one evening, her wings glowing softly in the twilight. "Tom, you seem troubled," she said. "I can feel it. Is something wrong?" Tom hesitated, then chose honesty. "Your Majesty, I believe there is a plan to disrupt the ceremony. I overheard it, and I've noticed strange behavior. I don't know the full extent, but I think it could be dangerous." The Queen studied him carefully. Then she smiled faintly. "I expected as much. Some in my court do not approve of our union. That is not unusual, but your vigilance is impressive. You see things that others may miss. That is a human strength." Tom blinked in surprise. You're not angry?" "Anger does not solve problems," she said. "We act with intelligence, not emotion. Your warning is valuable. We will plan carefully. The ceremony will proceed, but the conspirators will not succeed." Tom felt a mix of relief and determination. With the Queen's guidance, he was not alone. He had allies who would help him navigate this dangerous situation. The next day, he was part of rehearsal for the ceremony. As he practiced walking the crystal path, he observed the staff and attendants more closely than ever. He noticed subtle movements that indicated hidden messages, whispered conversations that suggested coordination. Using what he had learned, he discreetly signaled Kale when he noticed suspicious activity. Kale nodded and made adjustments. "You are learning well, Tom. Observation and caution are as important as courage and skill." By the time the day of the wedding approached, Tom felt ready. He knew the conspirators were watching, hoping for a mistake. But he was alert, focused, and prepared to act. Every lesson, every challenge, and every moment of practice had led to this. The palace glittered under the light of two suns. Guests arrived from distant planets, filling the halls with colors, sounds, and scents unlike anything Tom had ever experienced. As he donned ceremonial attire, he felt the weight of responsibility. The future of human-alien relations rested on this day, and he could not fail. Leora and Kale gave him a final nod. "Stay calm, act sincerely, and remember your training," Leora said. Tom took a deep breath. Feeling both fear and determination, the conspirators would try their trick, but he would not falter. With courage, observation, and the support of his tutors and the Queen, he was ready to face whatever came. As he stepped toward the crystal path leading to the Queen, he felt a strange calm. This was more than a wedding. It was a test of his strength, intelligence, and humanity, and Tom knew he was ready to rise to the occasion. The day of the wedding had finally arrived. The palace sparkled like a living jewel under the twin suns of Zalara. Every hall, every corridor, and every floating garden was decorated in colors that seemed impossible to describe, glowing softly, with energy that shifted in response to the excitement of the crowd. Tom stood at the entrance to the crystal path, his ceremonial robes flowing around him. Feeling both nervous and determined, Queen Varela approached, her wings shimmering like polished crystal. She gave Tom a small, reassuring smile. "Remember, human, your presence, honesty, and courage matter more than perfection. Trust yourself as you have trained." Tom nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, Your Majesty. I will do my best." The crowd hushed as the ceremony began. Delegates from dozens of planets, glowing attendants, and citizens all watched with anticipation. Tom followed the Queen along the crystal path. The energy in the hall pulsed as if responding to their steps, and Tom felt the aura of the bond between them strengthening with every movement. Everything seemed to be going perfectly until the conspirators made their move. A hidden mechanism beneath the crystal floor shifted suddenly, causing part of the path to rise unnaturally. Guests gasped as they nearly lost balance. At the same moment, lights above flickered, threatening to plunge the hall into darkness. Tom's heart pounded. He had trained for emergencies like this, but this was no ordinary test. He scanned the crowd, spotting the two conspirators hiding among the attendants. Their eyes were locked on him, confident that fear would cause him to fail. But Tom took a deep breath, focusing on the lessons of the past days: courage, observation, and calm determination. He moved deliberately, guiding the Queen and himself across the shifting floor. His aura glowed brightly, signaling confidence and sincerity. The Queen seemed to sense it, moving gracefully beside him, her own aura stabilizing the environment around them. Leora and Kale were quick to act as well. They intercepted the conspirators before they could trigger any further disruptions, using precise movements and energy manipulation that Tom had helped anticipate. Within moments, the danger was neutralized. Though the crowd remained tense, Queen Varela's voice rang out, calm and authoritative. "Citizens of Zalara, there is no cause for fear. This bond is strong, and those who oppose it have been stopped. Let the ceremony continue." The crowd erupted into applause and cheers, and Tom felt a surge of relief. He had not only survived the first challenge, but had helped prevent disaster. His human determination, quick thinking, and courage had made a difference. The ceremony proceeded with elegance and grace. Tom performed the rituals he had practiced, presenting symbolic gifts, speaking vows in Zalaran, and demonstrating gestures of respect and honor. Every action was deliberate, every movement carefully aligned with the Queen's instructions. The energy in the hall became harmonious, flowing like a river of light through the crystal towers. The highlight of the ceremony was the exchange of symbols, small, glowing orbs representing unity, trust, and mutual respect. Tom handed one to the Queen, who accepted it with a gentle nod, her four eyes reflecting a mixture of admiration and approval. When she presented one to him in return, their auras intertwined, creating a brilliant display of energy that filled the hall with a sense of peace and celebration. As the ceremony concluded, the crowd cheered louder than ever before. Delegates bowed, citizens floated in celebration, and even the stars seemed to shine brighter through the palace's transparent walls. Tom stood beside the queen, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced fear, sabotage, and uncertainty, and had emerged successful. Queen Varela turned to him, her wings fluttering softly. "You have proven yourself, Tom of Earth. Your courage, honesty, and determination have strengthened this bond. It is not merely ceremonial, it is real, and it is honored." Tom smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I never imagined I could do all this, but with your guidance and support, I managed." "You have grown quickly," the queen said. "Humans have qualities that we admire: adaptability, bravery, and the ability to act with honor even in the face of fear. Today, you have shown all of these." Leora and Kale approached, nodding proudly. "You handled everything with intelligence and calm," Leora said. "We are proud of you, Tom. You did more than survive. You excelled." Kale added, "Remember this feeling. The lessons, the challenges, and the responsibility will continue. But today you prove that humans can rise to meet the greatest tests." Later, as the palace celebrated with music, floating dances, and glowing feasts, Tom walked with the queen through the gardens. The air was filled with soft, sparkling lights, and the fountains twisted gracefully around them, creating patterns of flowing energy. "You were amazing today," the queen said softly. "Not only did you follow our traditions, but you also acted with courage when the unexpected occurred. That is why this bond is meaningful." Tom smiled faintly. "I felt scared at first, but I realized that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it, and having your trust help me stay calm." The queen's eyes glimmered with warmth. "That understanding is rare. Many Zolarans would hesitate, even after years of training. You are extraordinary in your own way, human." Tom felt a quiet pride. He had started as a visitor, an outsider who had accidentally proposed. Now, he had faced danger, won the respect of nobles, and helped protect the ceremony itself. He had learned that humanity, though small in the galaxy, had strengths that could shine even among the stars. As the celebration continued, Tom looked at the glowing palace, the floating gardens, and the citizens of Zolara. He realized that this adventure was far from over, but he had proven to himself and others that humans could rise to extraordinary challenges. And in that moment, beside Queen Varela, he felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. The bond was no longer an accident. It was a beginning, a partnership between worlds, between courage and wisdom, between humanity and Zolara. The palace was still alive with celebration the morning after the wedding. Glowing banners floated gently in the soft light, and music drifted through the halls like a river of color. Delegates and citizens from countless planets had joined the festivities, and the energy in the air was one of harmony and joy. Tom walked through the crystal corridors, still adjusting to the reality of what had happened. He had survived the challenges, faced the conspirators, and now stood officially recognized as bonded with Queen Varela. Despite the grandeur, the queen sought him out. She found him in the palace garden, where glowing flowers floated lazily in the air, and streams of water twisted around them in playful arcs. Her wings shimmered softly, reflecting the early sunlight. "Tom," she said, her voice gentle but strong, "the bond we share is now recognized across the empire. You have proven yourself through courage, wisdom, and respect. But there is more to this union than ceremony. You must understand its meaning." Tom nodded. "I think I do, Your Majesty. It is about trust, partnership, and understanding. And I think it is also about showing that humans can rise to meet great challenges." The queen's eyes glimmered with approval. "Yes, your people are small, yet they possess qualities that the galaxy can admire. Today, they are seen not only through your actions, but through your spirit. That is why this bond is important beyond our personal connection." Tom felt a quiet pride. The journey that began with an accidental proposal had led to this moment, where humanity was recognized and respected in a galaxy far larger and older than Earth. Leora and Kale joined them, smiling. "The celebrations will continue, but there are new responsibilities," Kale said. As a bonded partner, you will now participate in decisions and events that affect the Empire and your people. Your voice matters. Tom's chest swelled. With determination, he had always dreamed of making a difference, but never imagined it could happen on this scale. I understand, he said. I will do my best to honor this bond and the trust placed in me. The Queen extended her hand, a gesture of both friendship and commitment. Tom took it, feeling a connection stronger than he could have imagined. Their auras mingled, creating a soft glow that radiated warmth and harmony. Your courage has inspired many, the Queen said, and your humanity has shown that even small worlds can have great strength. Together, we can guide both our people toward understanding, peace, and progress. Tom smiled. I never thought an accident could lead to something like this, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next as part of this bond. The Queen nodded, her wings folding gracefully behind her. That is all I ask. Let this day be remembered not only for the celebration, but for the unity it represents. You have proven that humanity, though young in the galaxy, can stand proudly beside Solara. As the morning progressed, the celebrations continued with more vibrancy than ever before. Humans and Zolarans mingled, sharing stories, songs, and food. Tom found himself surrounded by beings who were curious and friendly, eager to learn about Earth and its people. He answered questions, laughed at stories, and even performed small demonstrations of human creativity, which were met with fascination and admiration. During the festivities, Tom noticed the conspirators from the previous plot. They were quietly escorted away by palace security, their expressions a mix of frustration and awe. They had underestimated human determination, and the Queen had recognized the threat without allowing it to disrupt the bond. Seeing this, Tom realized something important. Courage and intelligence were not enough on their own. Observing, understanding, and acting with respect and honesty were equally essential. Humans could make mistakes, but how they responded defined their true strength. Later in the day, the Queen led Tom to a balcony overlooking the city. Towers of crystal and floating gardens shimmered in the afternoon light. The streets below were filled with citizens celebrating, waving glowing banners and sending streams of light into the sky. You see this, Tom? The Queen asked. This is what your actions have accomplished. The people see that humanity is not only brave but honorable. They respect the courage it takes to face unknown challenges and to act with integrity. Tom looked out, feeling a mix of pride and humility. I never imagined anything like this, he said. It's been incredible. The Queen smiled softly. It is only the beginning. Our bond is a symbol, but it also carries responsibility. You will help guide our people, act as a bridge between our worlds, and continue to learn from our culture. In return, you will teach us about your world, your people, and your ways. That is the essence of partnership. Tom nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The accidental proposal had been the start, but the journey had transformed him. He was no longer just a visitor or a representative of Earth. He was a partner, a symbol of human courage and potential in a galaxy far beyond his home planet. As the sun began to set over Solara, casting colors that shifted like liquid light across the sky, the Queen and Tom returned to the palace for the evening celebration. Music filled the halls, and the citizens danced, laughed, and shared stories. Tom joined in, feeling the rhythm of the alien instruments and the warmth of the welcoming crowd. He glanced at the Queen, who was smiling with genuine joy. For the first time, he realized that this bond was not just about duty or symbolism. It was about connection, understanding, and mutual respect. It was about two worlds learning to stand together despite differences in language, culture, and origin. By the time the stars appeared above the floating towers of Solara, the celebrations had reached their peak. Tom found a quiet moment in the gardens, reflecting on everything that had happened. From an accidental proposal to surviving challenges, uncovering plots, and now earning respect and trust, the journey had been extraordinary. He looked up at the sky, feeling a sense of awe and determination. Humanity, small but resilient, had the chance to shine among the stars, and he, Tom of Earth, had played a part in proving that courage intelligence, and honesty could bridge worlds. Queen Varela joined him, her aura glowing softly in the starlight. "The future is bright, Tom," she said. "Together, we will face what comes, and the galaxy will see that the bond of courage and respect can overcome even the greatest challenges." Tom smiled. "I'm ready, Your Majesty. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The Queen nodded, her wings folding gracefully, and as they stood together in the glowing gardens, Tom realized that this was not just the end of a story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where humanity and Zalara would journey together, united by trust, courage, and the bond of understanding. For the first time, Tom felt fully at home among the stars.